mind really is the rupee breaching 80, and that's a seminal moment in some ways. People are saying that India turns 75 as a republic and the rupee has hit 80. Your initial comments on this before we move on to the how and why.
I believe, Siddharth, thanks calling me. I believe that this depreciation was something which had roots elsewhere, not partly in the country's, following of economic policies, but mostly on what was happening outside the country. Basically, there was shortage of dollars in the last 2 months in the international market. And India, it is easy, the high liquidity is there of dollars in India, but it is easy for people to take dollars out for this country. And you had other issues relating to the interest rates getting raised in US and those other issues which came about. And people started looking at how they can have higher arbitrage and higher safety for the financial assets they have got. And that has led to this kind of a flow outside the country of dollars. And this is something which is influenced much more by international events, to some extent by our own action, but mostly due to international situation.
Mr. Gopalan, I'll try and do a rapid fire round with you of questions which are there in the Aam Aadmi's mind really with regard to the rupee. The first question, Mr. Gopalan, is it a bad thing for our currency to depreciate?
Depreciation has its advantages and disadvantages. Advantages is that our exports becomes, very, favorable. It becomes competitive. As far as imports are concerned, they become very costly. They can put up inflation as a result. And depends on how we are able to use fiscal and monetary measures to handle this. This can have a very difficult effect as far as the economy is concerned.
At the end of last year, $1 was equivalent to 74.5 rupees, and by now the 7th month, and we still have 10 days or more for this month to end, we have now touched 80. Is this sharp depreciation on account of only external factors?
To a great extent, it is on account of external factors. As I mentioned to you, the interest rates getting raised as a result of inflation hitting the advanced economies. That, people understood that interest rates have to be raised, which means that the money has to flow outside for people to make arbitrage opportunities. Second, obviously, the Ukraine war was something which really made people think that we should go to safe asset investment at this point in time, because they did not know what would be the effect of this Ukraine war on various other economies, especially developing economies. And therefore, people thought that it is better that we are able to take our assets to safer places. And dollar at this point being the international reserve money is a better place for people to invest.
One of the other points that is there in the debate is the political opposition blaming the government of the day for so-called mismanagement of the rupee. The question I have for you, could the government have done anything else with regard to managing the depreciation of the Indian rupee?
If you ask, in hindsight, everybody becomes very wise, Siddharth. And if you look at it as if inflation had been, contained in a manner which is much more helpful. For instance, we are having 3 months of 7.1 and 7.03. If we had ensured that the inflation did not rise so much, and if we had used interest rate as a policy instrument to ensure that inflation had not, gone up so steeply, maybe that would be a comment one can really make. But once again, we think that, I mean, these are all in hindsight, everybody is wise. But comments are that if interstate regime has managed the inflation uptick, even before the Ukraine war took place, even before that the commodity prices were rising, and there were pass-through effect of those in the Indian economy, those would really push up, this did push up inflation. But inflation, the levels were high, but then rate of growth would have come down as a result of the fact that prices started stabilizing in the international market. And therefore, I would think that at this high level of inflation, probably before inflation getting entrenched and unhinged, it's better that we would have acted with little bit more alacrity. But once again, this could be a matter of 3 to 4 months and not more than that.